everybody. Welcome to Snurdy Thursday. Love it. We can throw the snurt in there instead of the dirt. Actually, we're going to talk a little bit of dirt track racing today, too. But Scott Schuster and Brian Sturgeon are on the show today. Man, this is going to be awesome. I can't wait. I've been trying to get these two guys together in here for a long time. Show is brought to you by Northwest Tire in Grand Forks. They're looking to hire some people. You know what? If you're not afraid to show up for work on time and then work while you're there, job might be perfect for you. No prior work experience is necessary. Northwest Tire, they'll train the right people, too. Get great benefits, PTO, health insurance, 401k, and all that kind of good stuff. Pay will depend on experience, but stop into Northwest Tire on Gateway Drive to find out more, or you can call Chad at 701-780-8473 or apply online at nwtire.com. And speaking of Chad, that's who you would call. He is our co-host on Dirty Snurdy Thursday. He might be able to make it in. We're not quite sure. Anyway, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to call or text us. Paul's handing me the phone here. Feel free to call or text us. 701-213-0863 is our phone number. On Groundhog Day. I think it's Groundhog Day today, and I heard we have 6 more weeks of winter. But anyway, here we go. Time now for a daily segment called Jokes My Neighbor Tells Me. Here we go. Jokes My Neighbor Tells Me. I've always said Arctic cats are just like a normal snowmobile, except they get you where you need to go. I keep looking at him. I usually have a different guy here that'll give me a thumbs down or a thumb up. Before we talk to our guests here, a couple of things I do want to talk about. 17th Annual Warren Snow Days coming up Saturday, March 4th, the Vintage Snowmobile Show and Ride. For more information, you can call Daryl at 218-791-5984. And, of course, coming up day after tomorrow, this Saturday, 11th Annual East Grand Forks Vintage Snowmobile Show. Registration from 9 to 11, of course, at the Blue Moose Bar and Grill. Silent auction and raffle from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Got the sled run, weather permitting, from noon or about 12:30, and it sounds like the weather's going to be pretty good. And then the awards presentation at 3:30. If you want more, to find out more, call Merlin. They were on the show last week, 218-779-6161, or Al at 701-740-7552. And watch this show again if you want to get those numbers, or you can call us up and we will pass those on. Okay, here we go. First off, to my left, he's been here before. Scott Schuster, how are you, man?
Doing good, John. Happy Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, there you go. How have you been? You're all Hall of Famed out here, and World Championship Snowmobile Derby.
I was there 2 weeks ago for the 60th annual Eagle River World Championship. I was there with a team, Auction Block online auction company I work with, had a champ sled entered. It was a lot of fun to be in the pits once again, and it's been a while for me. But yeah, it was a great turnout too. It's oval racing is coming back.
I know, and that is great because I mean, I like the cross country stuff, but it's nice when you can spectate a whole race. You know, these cross country races, you either got to go find a good ditch crossing and sit there and watch and hope or whatever. But I love the ice racing on the ovals. And Scott Schuster, by the way, he is the guy. Whenever I'm talking snowmobiles, say, Scotty, can you give me a hand here? I've been trying to get Brian Sturgeon on now for how long, and he keeps good. But anyway, he goes, let me make a phone call. And next thing you know, I got him. And speaking of that, here we go. Brian Sturgeon, how are you? Welcome.
Welcome. Great. I'm doing great. I'm glad to finally get on your show. I think it's going to be a lot of fun here.
You know what? That piqued my interest in getting you on the show. And in fact, we hadn't done a whole lot of snowmobile stuff, but what really got me was you guys partying up here last year at the River City Speedway for the Hall of Fame thing. And I think we got rained out that night.
Correct.
And so we all ended up down at the Long Haul. And we started talking there. And next thing you know, it's like, well, we got to get him on the show. We got to get him on the show. And we were talking beforehand. You're in Thief River Falls. That's where I'm from. In fact, you married an old classmate of mine, or an old schoolmate of mine. I played hockey with her brothers and know the whole family. And so I want to know right now a little bit about you. We'll talk about the snowmobile thing later, but give us the Brian Sturgeon bio, if you would.
All right. Well, I grew up in Burnsville, Minnesota. Spent most of my life there. I ended up moving up to Thief River Falls. I don't even remember what year it was, but I ended up moving up to Thief River Falls and working with Black Magic Motorsports while I was racing. So I got to know Tim, and I suppose, and I was at Black Magic, then I was a race manager for Arctic Cat, and then I moved on, and now I'm still up in Thief River and still my hometown.
Wife, kids, all that kind of stuff?
Yep, married still, Nancy, and I got 3 kids, Amanda, Jordy, and Ava. So Ava's their last year at NDSU.
Oh.
My son's he's out in Texas right now, and I got one daughter with him, and then my oldest daughter lives in Grand Forks here with her grandson and granddaughter. So it's a lot. It keeps me really busy.
Yeah, and then you got one named Jordy. How
Yep.
ironic is
Yeah,
that?
right,
I don't know how
right.
it's spelled. Probably not the same. Oh, maybe it
same.
is.
It's
It
the
is.
same.
No kidding. Imagine back in the day, Jordy. How are you?
Yeah, I didn't have much say in that name, I guess.
Yeah. How long have you known this dude?
Oh boy, well over 30 years now.
Yeah. I mean, you know anybody in the snowmobile world for at least over 30 years. I think you know them all. And they all have stories about you.
and some of them are true.
I actually, I tried to get a hold of Bill Sullivan, and I wanted him on the show, and he kind of politely declined. I think he's having some health issues or something, but you even told me, I said, oh yeah, you'll have a hoot. You get him on the show. I follow him on social media, and I'm almost scared to get him in here, I think.
You would have to censor a lot of it.
Yeah. Well, that's the nice thing about doing this show. We're not sanctioned by the FCC or anything, so we can pretty much get away with anything here. You can't do that on the radio either. Okay, now tell us how you got your start in snowmobile racing.
Sure.
Or was that the first thing you ever raced?
Yes, it really was. So when I was younger, my dad raced snowmobiles.
Okay.
So he raced. My dad, my uncles, all raced. Well, my dad actually was the driver. My uncles were the mechanics. So of course, as a young man, I was always in the shop, in the garage with them, working on stuff. I was the one that was really interested in it. My older brother didn't have a whole lot of interest in it. So I was always down there bothering with my dad, wanting to travel every weekend to the races. So every weekend we'd load up the family and we'd load up into a motorhome and we'd take off and go to the races for the weekend. And, you know, most of the other kids are always over playing somewhere else, you know, on the snowbanks and stuff. And I wanted to be right in the action and see what was going on. So I had the interest at a very young age. And then, of course, as I got older, I, bought some snowmobiles and I wanted to try some racing. So I had an LT Grade 6000, I think it was, and I started doing a few cross-country races, and that's kind of where I got my start.
Now, did you prefer cross-country or oval? Because you were really known, at least from what I can remember, on the ice racing circuit.
Yeah, well, like I said, when I first started racing, it was kind of the cross-country, and there was actually it wasn't really snowcross, but it was
Yeah, it was
snow
an
events.
oval where they'd put a little loop in there with a one
they were more
man-made
like
jump.
in fields and stuff.
Yeah, like they used to run in Thief River there on the river.
So that was kind of the form of racing, and then as it transitioned, it was the nice Le Mans came, was popular. So then that's when I was doing. So in basically 1980, when Arctic Cat, went under, I was like, God, what am I going to do now? There's no more Arctic Cat snowmobiles, So I ended up buying a Polaris snowmobile from a guy named an old race named Jay Sperry.
And I'm not holding that against you either.
Yeah, right. And then I started basically ice Le Mans racing, and then I raced on my own, for quite a few years there, and then fortunately in 70, Jesus.
Hey, you are old.
In 87, I got the phone call from Steve Thorson to see if I wanted to come join their team, as Arctic Cat was going to form a 3 racing team. And then we still raced at Ice Le Mans for a few years there. And then it was like the early 90s when, oval racing became the popular series.
Yep.
So then that's when we transitioned to oval racing. And I'd say overall, I like the oval racing better just because it's a higher speed, more close, intense racing. And it's just a lot. I mean, cross country was fun and Ice Le Mans was fun, but overall, I think the oval racing I was preferred the most.
Now, back then, they had the Formula 1s, Formula 3s, or whatever. You were Formula 3, but the Formula 1s were those the twin trackers, I believe. Did you ever get to do any laps on one of those things?
No, I never did, and I always kind of wanted to, but I don't know why. It just never, I don't know, the opportunities never came about, I guess. And, being Arctic Cat was involved in it a little bit with Dave Wall there for a few years, but nothing real extent. And, I never really did. I always kind of wanted to, but never had the real opportunity to. I guess I never really asked him.
Right,
really.
And weren't those more like, it's a Dave Wall sled, but it's painted like an Arctic Cat, or, how some of the car racing is nowadays? Yeah, you can call it a Chevy, but you can call it whatever you want. Compared to the Formula 3s, I mean, if you were riding an Arctic Cat, you were getting on an Arctic Cat.
Right. Most of the Formula 1s, of course, they were all built from the factory at
Sure.
Skidoo. Dave Wall was probably one of the only racers that had, from what I remember, only had really kind of a different Formula 1 sled. Most of the other ones were right from the Skidoo race factory. Yep.
Right. Boy, I tell you what, Dave and Dermont, those guys had it going on back in the day. And
They still do.
Yeah, they still do. I was going to say, I run into them every once in a while at the River City Speedway here. So you've done all the different types of snowmobile racing, and if you could think about it, do you have a biggest win in your career?
Yeah, there's several of them. I think one of the biggest weekends was the first weekend we were out at Alexandria, Minnesota, back in, well, it would have been in December of '87, because of when I joined TS Racing, which is Steve Thorson and Dean Swartzwalter. That was the '88 race year, but so '87 would have been in December. And we just got joined on with Artie Cat, and Steve and Dean were building the Formula 3 sled. And, if anyone who knows Steve and Dean, they build a beautiful sled, but they like to push it right to the last second, you know. So we were actually getting ready for Alexandria. I went and did the Grand Rapids Snowcross race. I took just a Wildcat, and went over there by myself while those guys stayed home and worked on the Formula 3 sled. And we got the weekend before Alexandria. It was Saturday morning of the race. We started that Formula 3 sled, at 2:30 in the morning on Saturday morning. And we're like, okay, everyone, let's go to bed for a little while. We slept for a few hours, and we went out to the lake, and I just basically test drove it up and down the strip, and Steve did a little clutching with it. And then we went to the racetrack, and we ended up, the first day was the Ice Le Mans inside the oval track. And I think we won just about everything, in our qualifiers, and then we got hit in the clutch side, and we bent the crankshaft, and of course we didn't have any spare parts.
Oh boy!
So Dean had to jump on a plane. He flew back up to Artie Cat and picked up a crankshaft and brought one down. So then we rebuilt the thing. Saturday night and Sunday morning, we're back at the lake before the track, and then we got there and got everything going, and then we ended up winning the final for the Ice Le Mans race that morning. And then the afternoon was the oval segment. So we're sitting there, and Steve's like, what do you think? And I said, I don't know. I've never even raced an oval before, Steve, so I don't know what the hell I'm even doing.
Yeah.
So Steve goes, come on. He says, we'll go for a walk. And he walked me around the whole racetrack and kind of told me where I should position myself, what I should do. And the other thing is, all the Artie Cat brass is here now.
Oh, boy.
First big weekend.
Yeah.
All the big, all eyes are on us because, of course, they want to list with this new Formula 3 sled. But the good thing was that, they had expectations of us, but they were just hoping we could win a race for the first
year.
Yeah. So we already won the Ice Le Mans earlier in the day, and we came out, we won all the oval heats, and we won the oval final. So what a way to start.
I'm sure the brass was pretty happy.
Right, and we went on that year, and we only lost one race the whole year, so it was pretty impressive.
That is crazy.
It just shows, that, the kind of equipment that Steve and Dean build, and it's just top notch.
And you know what you're talking about, Brian. I've heard that same similar story coming out of your mouth before about wrenching all night on snowmobiles, trying to get them ready to go, getting no sleep. Now, did you ever wrench with him, or you were usually probably pitted against him, I would imagine?
Well, I was working at Black Magic back in the early 90s, and but I was not a mechanic. I worked at the Black Magic support trailer. We sold the parts and everything there. Over at Brian's trailer a lot, when Steve and Dean needed parts, they would come to us and we would supply the parts to them. Where I did more wrenching was with Guy Useldinger.
Okay.
And the 1 year was on Artie Cat, and then after that he was on Skidoo for quite a few years. And then I had to leave Guy's team, so I started selling Artie Cats again. So
Sure. I remember he's flexing for us over there. I remember which Berthwick was it? Or not Berthwick. He ran the support trailer here up until a few years ago from Brooks.
Burbage.
Burbrick. Yeah, Larry
Burbage.
Lawrence. There you go. Man, what a great guy.
Yeah, he sure was.
Yeah, I would see him almost every Friday here at the racetrack, and then our hunting cabins are between Plummer and Brooks, so that cozy bar in Brooks is like our headquarters. So I'd run into the whole clan. There's like 50 Burbricks back in the day there. So great guys.
So really, to answer your question there about that race was one of the highlights, but Eagle River 2 and 95 when we won Formula 3. We actually won all 4 classes. We entered in Eagle River that year, and we had some stuff leading up to that race as well that we had to overcome, and then to win that race was pretty special.
Did you ever get to go overseas and do any racing?
Yeah. We went over to Sweden and Finland and raced over there.
How was that?
It was really interesting. Of course, over there it's snowcross. And big air, big snowcross. And I went over there one year, and it was Jack Struthers and Paul Mack and a bunch of those guys that were doing all the snowcross racing and the cross country racing, and I was basically an oval guy. Then I went over there and worked with the Arctic Cat distributor over there. We actually, I don't remember if we shipped a sled over, if we just used one of their sleds. I can't remember, but it was a 2-day race format. And the tracks they're just so different over there. They were big and wide and big jumps and stuff. But actually, it turned out really nice. I was actually the top qualified. I think I finished 4th out of everybody. I was the top qualifying American over there. And the old guy came over, and so it was a lot of fun over there. Good experience. It was really neat. It was really neat.
I've been to Europe a few times, but not that part, and I'm looking forward to doing that. We talk about biggest wins. I don't know. We're going to get into some wrecks and crashes, but ice oval racing, I mean, Dave Thompson just about lost his life back in the day. Sam Sessions, I remember that, not good. Guys get hurt. You get that snow dust going and somebody falls off and they're trying to get up and get out and you got a sled coming down 100 miles. Do you ever get any bad wrecks where you were injured or... are you like me? Are you like a walking wreck right now? Knees, back,
Pretty
arms.
Much.
Yeah. I've had 47 broken bones.
Yeah.
How are you rating up there?
Well, probably not quite that many broken bones, but I did get 2 pretty good wrecks. One of them was in Brainerd. I think that was in '89, and that was the year when Guy Usseldinger was racing Arctic Cat.
That was 91.
Or 90, was it 91?
Yep.
Okay. And
he'd know.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So so Guy came over and was racing Arctic Cats that year, and of course Guy got Steve and Dean. They built the sleds for myself and Guy, and Guy got his new sled the weekend before at Beaux Azur, and I wasn't very happy about it because it really worked well.
Yeah.
And we got down to Brainerd, and we kind of, the Polaris guys, the year prior, we're pretty stout, but not. I mean, we're probably pretty even, but and they were feeling pretty good about that year. The Polaris guys were, and we unloaded down at Brainerd, and boy, did we have those guys covered, and they were not happy. There was some big meetings going on that Saturday night, and we had them really covered on the racetrack. So we were pretty excited for the year. Then the Sunday morning we line up for the final. We all 4 went into the corner. It was Mike Hool on the inside. Then I think it was Steve Hool and then Guy Usling and me on the outside. And Mike came in and I don't know what happened. Anyways, he almost like T-boned his brother Steve. And then Steve went into Guy and Guy went into me. And it was like accordion. We all went flying off the track. And the backside of the track had a pretty steep bank on it. So I remember I was flying upside down and I landed with my arms stretched out, and I ended up breaking these 2 fingers bent straight back here, so they snapped off. This one was actually pointing. Jerry Kornick asked me the next day, he says, "How's your thumb?" I said, "My thumb's fine." Well, it looked like it was broke. I said, "No, that was my finger sticking out that way." And then I broke my wrist on my right side hand.
Oh, jeez.
So I was pretty much out for the year. I think I raced the last race of the year at Anago. Then the other big wreck I had was at Anago. We were over there racing. We raced on Saturday, and I still a little upset about that whole situation because they didn't have the track. It wasn't a very safe track. It had rained there prior to us getting there, and then it got really cold, and the banks were froze solid.
Oh boy, yeah.
And they had hay bales spaced out like every, like 10 feet, one hay bale. I'm like, well, and we argued.
That's really going to help.
Yeah, and we argued with them and said, what happens if you fall off? Are you supposed to guide yourself so you hit one of them hay bales, right? Well, that's what happened to me first thing Sunday morning. One of the qualifiers, I came in and I hooked a rut or something, high side, and went off, and I slid into the wall, and kind of legs first, and my right leg hit the wall, and then I spun around and hit the wall with my shoulder, and I broke my leg below the knee. I think in 2 spots, and they multi-fractured my right arm right off.
Oh, jeez.
So it was a mess, and that I had a pillow underneath my arm for I think it was like 16 weeks.
Oh yeah.
It was a nightmare, but so those are my 2 big wrecks that I had. And other than that, of course you
get
bang
dinged up a
yourself
little,
here,
yeah.
you sprain an ankle there,
Yeah.
whatever, but nothing real serious, no big major cuts or nothing, just broken bones, but we healed.
You didn't spend days in the hospital anyway.
Well, I was actually. The one in Anago, I actually got airlifted from the Anago hospital over to Marshfield because my lungs were collapsed. I don't know.
Sure.
they thought it was worse than it was, and the nurse I remember that the nurse kept saying, don't worry, you're not as bad as you are. For some reason, they misdiagnosed you. But think of it this way: you're getting a helicopter ride instead of a.
I was going to say, you got me
ambulance
beat.
ride,
I've been in an ambulance a few times, but never got to get airlifted out.
And then I spent. I was over at the Wausau Hospital. I don't remember whichever hospital over there, but I was there for quite a while, and I ended up in intensive care for I think 4 days.
Oh boy!
So it then finally came around. So it was a little scary there for a while.
Now that wreck he's talking about with Dinger in there was that the one I remember when you were in here with Guy? He had got hurt pretty good. Was that same wreck?
That's the same wreck. Yeah,
okay.
I witnessed that wreck.
He had I forget how many 250 stitches in his ass. I think it was.
Wow! Wasn't that? You talk about that, Lemar Ratinen. You know Lemar?
No.
I know he was up at Lake of the Woods one time testing something. I don't know what it was. And he fell off going 100 miles an hour, and that thing just basically crawled right up him and completely cut his leathers almost off of him. And I know he took a whole bunch of stitches in the ass, too. But, boy, I tell you what, got a lot of people watching. Nick, Sean, Katie, Travis, Daryl watching up in Canada. Paul, Ricky, Timothy, a lot of people watching. We got the ice racers watching, Lake Cameron Ice Racing Association. Those guys, I might even try to get down there this Saturday.
Look at there. There's a picture from snowcross days.
Yeah, we're gonna show some more pictures. We got a bunch here that we'll be showing in a little while. That's at Brainerd right there.
Yep.
Now, when Arctic Cat, when you guys were winning all these races, you basically dominated there for a while. What was it like going through tech afterwards? I mean, would they basically tear your... Because when you hear, you say the Polaris guys weren't too happy about, how you guys were doing. Do they complain more to Tech and say, you really need to tear this sled down? And did it end up being that way? And did Tech finally say, no, we've been doing this every time they kick your ass. We're not doing it anymore. How was it with teching then?
When we raced with the USSA, it wasn't bad. I mean, sometimes we would get scrutinized a little bit, and they would, go a little further on our sleds than they would with others. But they were generally pretty equal with everybody. I guess somebody maybe would complain about something, then they'd look at something a little more. But when we raced outside of the USA, we got a little more teched than other sleds, especially, in Valcourt. I mean, we go up to Valcourt, and the Skidoo sleds, and this is no joke.
Well, you're up in their territory there.
Right. The Skidoo sleds would drive through the teardown shack and drive right out the back door.
The Bombardiers.
We'd drive in the tech shop, and we wouldn't be out of there till dark.
You might as well bring a recliner.
Right. And it got to the point where, I was kind of upset about it, but then Steve and Dean were the ones, they're the ones that had to do all the work and do all that, sitting there for hours. So we finally, one of the last years that we were going to go up there, we finally just told Marcel, I asked if we were going to go, and we said, we're not coming. And he said, why not? And I said, because we're tired of this. We get just scrutinized in tech, and we're not going to do it anymore. And then he called us and said, guaranteed us that we wouldn't go through those pains like we had been in the previous years. So that was the only place where we really got, really got picked on.
Wow.
And we never were. I mean, we never got caught cheating for anything. And one time we came back from Valcourt and we went down to go and we supposed we were cheating on our fuel. We brought them over to the race trailer and we opened up 3 cans of Klotz fuel and they tested all that with this steel seal and they tested that and it was bad too. And we're like, okay, what are we supposed to do? It's not our fault. It's all sealed cans.
Man, you're bringing back memories of the smell of Klotz. Oh, I used to love it. Paul, I do have a question for you. I just realized we've got muskox and Valvoline coming up here at the same time. You want me to swap those out? Because they're both produced? No, we can just do them back to back. Okay. Well, we're going to take a little break. Stay tuned. Scott Schuster, Brian Sturgeon on a Snurdy Thursday. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes, all right? Hey, if you move snow with a skid steer, you've got to see the muskox difference. A patented back drag feature allows operators to blow snow while back dragging in front of obstructions. Garage doors, siding, and fire hydrants. Now, this saves time and money while lowering injury risk by decreasing manual labor. The optional dual auger, called the dually, helps the operator eat through big snowfalls, ice-crusted snow, and blow more snow while back dragging. And the glide plate, it allows you to glide over grass and gravel without ripping up the soft surfaces. Subsequently, create an instant torque of the lower cutting edge to break up snow and ice to better expose hard surfaces. See the Muskox difference. Go to muskox.com or Facebook at Muskox Snowblowers or call 218-288-1905. See the difference for yourself. It's the Muskox difference. Want an oil change in a hurry? Hey, this is not a dream when you go to Valvoline Instant Oil Change in Grand Forks. Heck, you can sit in your car while they do the oil change. It's that fast, and you don't even need an appointment. Hey, make sure to check out the toughest monster truck tour coming to Grand Forks Saturday, April 22nd at the Alaris, and check out one of these awesome trucks beforehand at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Oil changes and more, done fast so that you can get on with your day. It's at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, 3325 South 38th Street, or call 701-780-8462. And make sure to tell them GFBS sent you.
Yeah.
All right, here we are back on a Snurdy Thursday. Everybody, Scott Schuster, Brian Sturgeon on the show today. How about that? You know, Brian, back in the day, boy, I can still remember the posters. You had toys, Brian Sturgeon snowmobile toys. You were kind of treated like a rock star back in the day. How fun was that?
It was really
Did it bother you or not?
No, it didn't really bother me. And, I didn't think that I was over and above anybody else either. It was really kind of neat and fortunate that, Artie Cat would release, whatever magazines or posters, and I'd be on there. And like I said, they did make that model snowmobile that one year. And yeah, it was really neat to see that kind of stuff. It was just fortunate, that I was able to.
We're going to check out some pictures here. I tell you what, why don't you just follow through, and you can just kind of explain what is what here. Let's see. Okay, they're not coming. There we go. All right. Well, that's Scott.
That's Schuster.
And this was just recently.
This was about 3 years ago at USXC. The guy with me is Andy Mack. We kind of tag team putting on the races with Brian Nelson for quite a few years. Yeah.
Okay.
That's at the Hall of Fame when Brian got inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Cool.
Yeah.
They give you a new Team Arctic jacket to wear to that?
Yep.
They better.
That's the Grand Forks Speedway, December of '78.
Yeah.
The '79 racing season. That's at the Grand Forks Speedway. Look at the crowd we had.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I remember watching those, sitting with Dale Cormican and his kid Sean back in the day. Yep.
I'm in the crowd. You can point me out right below me.
There you go. You'd know if I was there because you'd see my head.
Oh, no wonder Scott sent that picture and he's in the crowd.
There I am, right there.
History on that picture, it was Mike Witherall, the flagman at the Speedway, found a 16 by 20 in one of the storage rooms. He gave it to me, and I brought it to Rock Tweeton, Tweeton's Photography in Grafton, had it restored. Yep. And I made a few extra copies. I brought one last year to the Hall of Fame. I do the auction there, and it sold for $500.
Nice.
No kidding. Withy was flagging back then, huh?
Well, he wasn't at that time, but he just found it a year ago.
And there it is, the Brian Sturgeon number 30 ZR440 Snow Pro toy.
Yeah, that's a race replica sled that they built and sold them through the dealerships.
Wow. Gosh, I remember when you could get those things. And a guy should have just gobbled them up. Look at that kid.
Yeah.
When the hat stood about 8 inches high. Remember the old school hats?
Right.
Gosh, this brings back, I love doing these shows like this because it just brings back so many memories. But I can remember that.
That picture's after the stash.
Oh, I thought we had one of the stash. Maybe we might not have got them all in.
Well, that's good.
That's pretty cool. That is very cool. All right. The Hall of Fame, how do they do that? Do they just call you up and say, hey, we're with the Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame, and you are our next contestant? How does that work?
Well, basically, I was sitting at, there's a process to get to there, but I was just sitting at home one day, and Craig Marchbank called me and said, hey, I'm Craig Marchbank. You know who I am? I said, yeah, I know who you are, Craig. And we talked for a while, and he said, well, how do we get you more involved in the Hall of Fame? And I said, I'd like to get back to Eagle River to the Derby, and I'd like to get to the Hall of Fame events as well. But I said, finally my last child graduated, and I don't have to chase hockey and everything else.
Yep.
So now I'm going to have some more time freed up, so I'll be able to get to more events that I'd like to go to. He says, well, he said, how about if we make you come back to the Hall of Fame? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you're going to be inducted next year.
Wow.
I said, wow.
That's pretty cool.
I said, that's amazing. You know, it's a big honor. I mean, it's something that it's really neat.
So knowing who you married, did you know you were probably going to be marrying the sport of hockey also? Because that's a pretty big hockey name in that area.
Yeah, no, I knew that, you know, Nancy liked hockey and you know, we go to all the games and stuff. Yeah.
Sure.
So, well, that's the thing then. So we, you know, well, I was, you know, running to all the different races every weekend when I was a race manager. You know, she's at home with the 3 kids. And of course, Steve Rivers got 3 sheets of ice. Sometimes we had a kid at each sheet of ice, and she's trying to manage all that. And I'm running every weekend. And so, you know, she, of course, loved hockey. And then she's like, you know, we talked in the later years, and it's like, well, you know, I thought Jordy would be a racer, you know, since you were a racer. I'm like, well, what do you want to do? You can't do both. You got to do one or the other.
Sure.
And I said, you know, so I said, you know, that hockey was the chosen way, and you know, I said, and plus I said, racing gets a little expensive.
Yeah, people complain about hockey being expensive, but I'm guessing you would have probably had a couple of brother-in-laws that wouldn't talk to you very much if your kid wasn't playing hockey. Excuse me, I want to talk about. We had mentioned this at the beginning of the show. You also dabbled in dirt track racing. You ran a lightning sprint, or what they call a mini sprints back then.
Yeah.
How many years did you run that? Because I remember it was a Arctic Cat car, basically.
Yeah, I think we raced it for 3 years. I was working with Tim Berg at Black Magic Motorsports, and Tim helped a guy out in California with this sled, with motor stuff and that. And the guy decided he wanted to sell it, and Tim asked me hey, what do you think about racing mini sprints? I said, I don't know, they're kind of cool. I've never been in a sprint car, never been in anything. So him and I flew out to California, and we looked at it in the guy's garage, and I said, yeah, I'll buy it, and let's buy it and have some fun with it, you know. So we got it back. We shipped it back to California, or from California back to Thief River, and got the car. So we had a 550, you know, twin motor in it. We ran it on alcohol, and it was a lot of fun. It very time consuming, but a lot of fun. And we had great success with it. I mean, the thing, you know, we basically, when we had that, we were one of the only 2-strokes. We raced it up in Greenbush at Ed Wall Brothers track, and we were one of the only 2-strokes originally. Most everybody else had the 4-strokes, and they all laughed at us until we pretty much started, you know, laying it to them, you know.
And you did. I mean, at least at River City Speedway, I remember you won probably the majority of the races that I ever saw back then. And it was funny because back then, you talked to some of the old guys, the old Hall of Famer dirt track guys, the Swanglers and guys like that. And when these mini sprints first came out, a lot of people complained about them because they didn't like the noise. To me, I would close my eyes and pretend, is it Eagle River or Alexandria or something like that? Because to me, that was like the sound of music. I loved it. Now, you know, they're all running these crotch rocket motors, you know, motorcycle motors. But back then, you could always tell the snowmobile ones because you had the big clutch cover on the side, you know, and there was just so many different types. But did that ever pique your interest about maybe getting into more dirt track stuff, or was that just kind of fun for a while?
It did, but I actually did race a Wayzata modified one day for Russell Holton.
Oh, sure.
Dale, the Holton brother, he couldn't make it to one race, so he asked me if I wanted to race his car up in Winnipeg.
Oh,
so we raced up there. That was fun. It was a lot of fun. That's a high-speed track up there.
Yeah,
with big bangs.
You know, I remember back in the day, Dale had actually bought a Nosa Sprint. But he was too scared to drive it. And he asked me if I wanted to go hot lap at one time, and I'm like, I get asked to hot lap cars all the time, and thank goodness I drink beer, because that's always my excuse. It's like, no, I've had a couple of beers, I'm not going to, but thank you. Actually, I'm scared to death of wrecking somebody's stuff. I'm a firm believer in Murphy's Law. If it can go wrong, it probably will with me. You know, I could see coming out of turn 4 and something breaks and you smuck the wall head on, and pretty soon you're destroying somebody's car. But you ever do any work on a mini sprint?
Full sprint for Mike Johnson.
Sure. McDonald's car back in the day?
Yep, 10 years I did with Mike Johnson and Jeff Liebrick. That was a lot of fun.
So you must be good friends with Liebrick then.
Know him very well.
Yeah, Liebrick's a great guy. Well, yeah, did we talk one time was that at Bennett Bulldog's son-in-law?
Yeah, this summer.
And was Liebrick there?
Yep.
I thought so.
He lives across the alley from Jeff.
Sure, okay, because I remember when Jeff got into the Hall of Fame, I went and met him in his garage, and because he made a little bio for himself for me, and I went and met him in the garage, and Jeff's bio was like 9 pages long, by the way. But with Johnson, you couldn't meet a nicer guy.
Exactly.
I mean, just a super humble, nice guy. That lightning sprint or the mini sprint you ran, why did that thing smoke so much? I've said this time and time again to people, and everybody seems to not be able to remember that. I remember it because, for one thing, I was an Arctic Cat fanatic, and I loved that car. I loved the fact that you were winning with that thing all the time, but to me, it seemed like it smoked a lot. Do you remember that, or am I just... I've always said the 80s was hard on me now. Maybe my memory was a little foggy, but it seemed to me that sled always smoked, or that car always smoked so much.
I don't really remember a lot of it being smoking. I guess maybe the guys behind me noticed it more than I did.
I was like mosquito control here.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe it was a snowmobile engine versus motorcycle motor, you know, type thing. I don't know. I thought at that time maybe they were messing around with, because wasn't that about the time when they were just starting to introduce fuel injection to the snowmobiles?
Yeah, but we didn't have a fuel injection. There was a carburetor motor.
It was a carburetor.
Yep.
You know, it's funny when it comes to snowmobile racing, because whether you're an Arctic Cat or not, and like Polaris clutches, the #1 clutch, and how many were Arctic Cat sleds completely 100% Arctic Cat sleds when you went onto the ice?
Yep.
Yeah, everything came from Arctic Cat. Yep. You know, those guys, they had the hydraulic brakes before anybody. You know, they had all the stuff that's like, how come we didn't have all that said? Favorite sled you ever raced?
You know, there's so many of them. You had a picture up a little earlier about with that 90 EXT special was a really fun sled.
I remember when they came out, yeah.
Some of them other ZRs, our Former 3, you know, the 95 Former 3 was so fun. And actually the little... I can't remember what the class those were. With the kind of the Prowler mod sleds that we had.
Well, that Mod 2.
Mod 2
Yeah.
sled.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That was a lot of... So I don't really have a favorite one because there were so many of them that were fun. I know probably my least favorite was the 90, Scott knows better, 91 or 2.
91 Prowler specials.
Yeah, the
92
Wildcat.
92 Wildcat. That's what,
F3.
yeah. 92 F3.
Oh, that was one year I couldn't wait till it ended because that sled was just a
Really
miserable thing to drive.
Last one I ever raced was the Goodrich 100. Was a Cougar with reverse and electric start. They just wanted me to go beat it up. Bill did, so I got it, and I just went out and ran out of gas with like 2 miles to go.
Yeah, and the worst part about that, Jeremiah Johnson from Michigan, he has that sled and he restored it, and it looks beautiful.
Yep.
And so he called me before the Hall of Fame last year, and they're doing that Legend Laps. Mark Rest is doing a great job promoting that Legend Laps, and he wanted me to, hey, I got a sled of yours. I want you to ride it at Legend Laps. I thought, yeah, okay, that wouldn't be so bad. I wouldn't mind doing that. And then I found out which one it was. I'm like, no. I said, I didn't want to race that thing when Steve and Dean were working on it.
Now, it's funny because when you see race car drivers, racers, whatever that are in the Hall of Fame, and I'll talk about NASCAR here and NASCAR. A lot of these guys, they've got their shop, and they've got all these old cars that they used to run and stuff. You fast forward from your racing days, all of a sudden, Brian Sturgeon, Hall of Fame member. Do you have any of your old sleds? Do you wish you still would have had them? Because you see this all the time now. Vintage snowmobiles are just, it's coming through. It's crazy. And you'll see, this used to be, Guy's sled, or this sled was raced this year by Brian Sturgeon, blah, blah, blah. Do you have any of your old sleds? Do you wish you did if you didn't?
I don't, and unfortunately I don't. And, the problem with this, Steve and Dean, were the team owners.
Sure.
And so I basically,
you were just a hired hand or a hired shoe.
Driver from them and from Arctic Cat. So they actually, they're their sleds, basically, So every year at the end of the year, we always had, whether it was a stock sled or a mod sled, we always had guys that were just kind of waiting till the end of the year to buy our sleds. So we never really did keep any. I do have the one sled I really wish we probably would have, a couple of them, that ZR700, that orange one that we raced.
Oh, sure.
We raced that thing for 2 years, and that thing was just was incredible sled. And the worst part about it is we never gave it any attention.
Wow.
Basically, put fuel in it, put carbides on it, and that thing didn't need any help. It just ran. It just was just an unbelievable sled. And that would have been nice. That one ended up in Canada somewhere. And then... the Formula 3 that we won, Eagle River, which would have been nice to have. But I do have the hood from that one.
Oh,
so
you
that-
do?
So that was nice. And Steve Thorson actually had majority of the chassis and some parts for that thing, but for quite a while. And then I can't remember, someone from Thief River was going to rebuild it for me, and then we just never made it happen.
So do you keep in contact with any of the old school Hall of Famers? I mean, when we're all sitting here talking right now, we're all old school. But I mean old school. You know, we were throwing names out there before we went on. The Cormacans, the Ricards, the Jansons, Coltums, Thompsons, these guys, Bobby Elsner, you know, and then, you know, you can throw some Polaris guys in there too. But do you ever keep in touch with these guys? Do you talk to them? Have you ever, you know, talked to them or been friends with them?
Yeah, you know, especially the Arctic Cat guys,
Sure.
you know, like David and Larry, you know, I see them. And
I played fast pitch with Larry back in back in the day. Yeah.
And I'm sure he was good. Cause
Yeah, he was.
Anything he did, he
Yep.
was good.
Yes, he was.
I mean, you know, he got into golfing, and I mean, he didn't quit until he was the best.
Oh,
I
sure,
mean,
I'm sure. Yeah.
I mean, just the way he was. And I talked to Steve Thorson, you know, quite a bit still. Dean, not so much as anymore. Dean's down in Missouri now. But I talked to Steve quite a bit, especially during the race season. I call him and follow up with him because he works for Shearing Speed Sports team.
Sure.
So he's their main guy for
Okay.
that team. So, and then some of the other older guys, you know, when I run into Jim Dimmerman at different events, you know, it's good. It's always good to talk to him. And so there are some of them that I see. I didn't know a lot of them, you know, but it was really neat to see and talk to a bunch of them at the Hall of Fame last year. So I'm excited about going back this year and seeing a lot of those guys
I bet.
too. It's fun. And I hadn't seen a lot of those people in quite a few years that I seen at the Hall of Fame. So that was really a lot of fun.
And, you know, it's almost like going to a funeral. It's like the only time you get to run into
Right.
people you haven't seen for years anymore. I know, Scott, you go to a lot of races still.
Yes.
This year, how many have you been to?
Only a few this year so far. I was in Eagle River 2 weeks ago, like I mentioned earlier, and I was at Pine Lake.
Okay, yep.
I actually helped put that race on. Chad Deerdahl and his family are actually doing that race on their own now. So we got our old USXC crew together. That picture that we saw with
Yep.
Andy Mack and myself. Andy was always my right-hand man, and when Chad called me up and said, "Hey, would you help?" I said, "Yeah, but I have to have Andy with." And plus, we had other guys that we pretty much had a seasoned crew, so it went really smooth. We actually had a lot of compliments from ISR International Snowmobile Racing. They were there, and Jerry Cornick, who's kind of the head of that, wasn't there himself, but he heard through the grapevine that things went well, and I saw him in Eagle River, and he gave me an attaboy, and that meant a lot coming from Jerry.
Yep. I always talk. Well, we had Mike Carver on the show last year, and we've had K-Dog, you know, Keegan Hauser on the show a few times. But good to see guys like Mike. I mean, still doing it. I mean, come on, man. He's still racing.
He is in the
but
Masters
he's
class.
still winning.
Yes.
You know, when I think of other old racers that I would see, you know, in how people finished and results and all that was who was it? Jerry Mattson. I know he was running Masters. Is he still racing? Do you know, or did he finally call it quits?
The Matson family runs the vintage class now.
Okay.
I
That's
think
about
they
all I
all,
see 'em.
they all call their quits now, though.
Yep.
I think. The
Okay.
last couple of years, I don't think they've run, but they had a whole slew of them. I think.
Oh,
there's-
I know they did.
I mean, I think there's Jerry, Pete, and
Yeah, Jerry, Pete, Jim.
and, you know, all of them were racing as the family, and then the boys, Jim's boys, got involved, so they were running the vintage sleds. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I went trail riding with Jim and his one son and a bunch of other guys from Arctic Cat and stuff a couple of years ago. And his one boy, I'll tell you, he was leading the pack, and I'll tell you what, he can ride.
Yeah. I just can't see being an old guy riding a vintage sled.
Yeah,
It's
right.
just like, I mean, it's like water and gas mixing. It's just not a good combination unless you've been lucky your whole life. Now, when you think about all your years, Brian, I'm sure you've got a list a mile long of people that have helped you through the way, but names that come to mind for you in your career.
Well, the biggest thing is, you know, Arctic Cat, you know, they were a huge help. You know, TNS Racing, Steve and Dean, Black Magic, you know, Woody's, you know, Woody's helped me since, you know, they're a huge supporter because actually Steve Thorson, you know, raced for the Woodies way back in the day. There's so many people, you know, that help, you know, Butch Rust, Rusty's Parts, you know, back in the Polaris days, he helped me a lot. Dale's Performance, probably a lot of people, maybe some people listening remember him. I can't even think of all the other people that all helped me, but it's you know, all my sponsors that helped me, you know, the B-Force Reed guys, the Super Shear guys, you know, everybody. It just all was you know, every bit a little bit helped out, you know.
Did you guys meet when you were at Black Magic or when you were wrenching for Guy or somebody else, or because like I said at the beginning of the show, you know everybody. You do. Anybody in the snowmobile racing world, you know them.
Well, I got involved with snowmobiles selling Arctic Cat in November of '87. The first year Brian was on Formula 3. So just by going to races, of course, I knew who Brian was.
Sure,
and then when
everybody did.
When I actually met him, though, was a year later. It would have been like December of '88 and '89 racing season at Quad Mountain by Grand Rapids.
Oh,
and
sure.
that's when I first met Brian. Then after that, I got to know him quite well through Black Magic and whatever else. And we both haul beats for Useldingers. And he is as competitive in a beat truck as he was on a snowmobile.
Really? Are you still hauling beats?
Yep.
Yeah, you are. And are you?
Oh, yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
No kidding, because well, I haul for Todd Mack.
Oh, do you?
And I'm going to say this.
We'll have to lay down some times and see what's going on.
One of your guys, I didn't do it this year because I was in Europe and I missed out, but the year before, I dang near put my fully loaded truck in the ditch because of one of your guys. That's all I'm going to say, and it wasn't either one of you.
We won't talk about that. I had a little experience, too.
Yeah. If you find out anybody, one of your drivers that had a water bottle thrown at him, that's who it was. So anyway, we'll leave it at that because I don't know.
Is guys out looking for a new truck for me right now, so I'm pretty excited for next year.
You know, we had a lot of fun
Actually,
with
it's
Guy. But we had a lot of fun when you guys were in here. And you know, hauling beats is fun. I thought I was supposed to go to Europe at the end of October. Well, it turned out I was wrong, and it was October 1st. So I was gone for 3 weeks, and we hauled for 3 weeks, a little under 3 weeks, so I missed it all. But I was so worried I was going to lose my ride. You know, it's like, come on, man, I want my ride back next year. Don't worry, you got it. It's a good couple of weeks. Still, when you come up here, do you stay then, or you go back home
No,
every
I
night?
just go back and forth.
Wow.
Yeah.
That gets to be a lot.
It
Gets to be a lot of
gets-
driving.
It does, but it's fine.
So now you haul, in fact, where the new asphalt bullshit's going to be put up there, that you guys farmed that field 2 years ago. I know for sure. Right off of 17th there.
Yep, right by the lagoon there.
Yep. And so I live right down the road. I'm at the Riverbend Supper Club.
Okay.
And that's my driveway going in there. So, I pass you guys all the time. And then, what's his name, too, who's living up in Warroad now? Is he still driving for Guy? I believe, because Tim isn't he?
Tim Olson?
No, Tim Grabansky or Todd Grabansky.
Oh, yeah, Todd's been there forever.
And then
Todd's boy hauls for
Johnny.
Johnny hauls too.
And then I thought there was a guy who worked for the city for East Side for years. I thought he was, and now he moved up the Warroad. He got married.
Oh, Mike Coette, you're thinking.
Coette, yeah.
He ran the Harvester.
Okay. Wow, what a small world, huh? Just one more question. I kind of feel bad. I don't get to talk to you as much. I give you all the credit in the world, though, dude, because you're the one that gets guys like this in here. But and I'll ask both of you this, and I really don't want to ask you, but because I know you're going to be on here again eventually. But how do you want to be remembered as a racer? If somebody, like we're doing this reminiscing now, and you're sitting around having a beer or whatever, how do you want to be remembered?
I don't know. I guess it's a good question. It's a hard question. I think I was a fair racer. Respected people on the track and raced hard. I mean, I was a hard racer because I wanted to win.
Sure.
And that's all I wanted to do, you know. And when we didn't have good days, the guys in the trailer didn't want to be in the trailer.
Sure, right.
But so I'm just a hard, aggressive racer, fair racer. I think would be a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm. How about you? Same question.
Well, I didn't race.
Well,
but,
as a mechanic.
And actually, I'm more of a race promoter.
Sure.
I've been around that forever. Oval racing, I worked with Black Magic and with Guy, but where I spent most of my time is in cross-country racing for about 15 years with USCC and USXC. And I guess is there again being a fair official, not having any favorites, and probably being the fun person to be around. I mentioned Andy Mack again. Together, we got to know all the racers. When the races were over, we'd go to trailers and have a few beers with the guys and everything. And I guess, last year, like I said, we did Pine Lake again after being away from it for 3 years. And the welcoming that we had was overwhelming. I mean, it really made a guy feel good for what you did in the past and so forth. And there's the behind-the-scenes guy. I really enjoyed it.
So when it comes to the snowmobile racing fraternity, we get this all the time on Dirty Thursday about, you got your late model guys, you got your sprint car guys, your B mods, your A mods. They're families. They consider themselves a racing family. A lot of these guys, at the end of the night, they might have gotten into a wreck with each other or whatever, but then at the end of the night, down in the pits, when the last car comes in and the beer starts coming out, you see these guys hanging out together. There's people cooking. There's fires, and was snowmobile racing the same thing, or did you? Because I mean, it was a little different with the factory thing. You know, it was Polaris versus Skidoo versus Yamaha versus Arctic Cat. It's not that way with dirt track racing, but was it kind of the same way after a night of racing? If you were at Eagle River for a week or 4 days or 2 days, at the end of the night, would you go hang around and drink beers with the Polaris guys or the Benders from New York or any of those guys? Did you do that kind of stuff?
Well, I actually didn't drink, or I quit drinking. Well, WeFest was the last weekend I gave it a hurrah.
Go figure.
After WeFest, you're done for a month anyways.
Yeah,
but, actually, then I quit drinking for the whole season. Didn't drink till after the season was over with again. But as you know, like you said, your competitors on the track, but we were all pretty darn good friends off the track.
Sure, and I would imagine if you're the sober guy, because it's usually the beer that gets the courage and the dumbness, to come flowing out of your mouth, and I would think it would be a lot less of that if you're not the guy that's drunk, and I think that's a good call. I know guys that still do that. They just don't drink when it comes time for racing. Hopefully World of Outlaws this year. I don't know if you guys are going to try to make it up or something, but that gig when we all got together last year, I'm so glad. I can't remember if it was you that first mentioned it to me that you guys were going to have a spot. Well, then that was the first thing I was going to do was going to go find you guys in the pits. I don't know if you were over kind of by Little Canada or something over there.
We did have my clerking trailer from my auction company there, and that's where we all gathered.
Yeah, and then but it was raining so bad that nobody was around. And then I can't remember if I called you or texted you, and you told me, we're going down. We're going to be down here. And Joey was one of the first guys I ran into, and that's weird.
But actually, it was kind of a nice thing that it got rained out because we got to all go over to Long Haul and spend a lot of time with each other. And,
sure.
Because basically, and then we did it, like a week or two later or whenever it was.
Whenever when they redid the whole Outlaws.
We kind of all got there and we spent an hour and a half with everybody, and then the races, then everyone, a little bit after the race, but we got to spend a lot of time bullshitting with everybody.
It's pretty tough to carry on a conversation during a sprint car race. It's like, what?
When we redid it again in the August World of Outlaws, we all got together in my trailer again. We had 8 snowmobile Hall of Famers at my trailer that night. Totally unbelievable.
Cool. Yeah, that is so cool.
I mean, most were invited. Roger Skyme, Steve Hoole came all the way from the cities. And Dave Wall happened to be walking by, and he joined us. I mean, it was just Archie Simonson.
Jeepers. Guy.
Guy was there. Yeah, and I think that's how I ended up nabbing Guy to get on the show, too. And so I, for sure, if anything like this happens again, you make sure to let me know, because
we'll probably have a repeat.
Yeah, because for some reason I got a feeling we're going to have another winter. So I know we're going to be doing some more Snurdy Thursdays. But anytime you want to come up to River City Speedway, get a hold of me first, all right, you guys, and we'll make sure we treat you good. I appreciate you coming in. I know you made the trip from Thief River. It was funny because my phone rang at about 7:30 this morning, and it was unknown caller, and I'm like, I'm not going to answer it. I'm not going to answer it. I'm going to wait for a voicemail. And it was just a spam call. And I'm like,
funny.
Oh. And then when you and I started texting back and forth about the pictures and stuff, I'm thinking, well, this might work. This might work. I appreciate it.
No,
that you guys
I apologize.
Came in.
Last year,
it's
just
what you do.
Situations came up, but no, I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, and we didn't get. There's so much more we could have talked about.
I know.
This is such a limited time, but no, I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, we can get you back again next year, all right?
Yeah.
All right, that'd be fun. Yeah. And maybe we could bring somebody else in, have a little more fun with us.
Yeah.
And
a Guy along, too.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Or get Todd or Guy or somebody. But
Guy will have to sit behind me because that's all he ever used to see really was my tail light.
We're meeting him for lunch now. So.
You're going to meet him for lunch?
Yeah.
Where are you guys going?
Not sure yet.
Probably Joe Black's would be my guess. That's where Guy likes to go.
Okay. It was funny. He actually knows my sister-in-law, Dixie Horde.
Oh, yeah.
I know he wished her, or not my sister-in-law, it's my first cousin's wife.
Okay.
Chuck is my first cousin.
Okay.
But I saw he had wished her happy birthday. But
nice.
You guys, I can't say it enough again. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And say hi to the whole other side of your family. I know them all. And
Right.
Scott, as usual, man, you pulled through again for me, and I sure appreciate it.
You bet, no problem. We'll do it again.
All right, there we go. Hall of Famer Brian Sturgeon should be a Hall of Famer. Scott Schuster in the studio today on a dirty/snurdy Thursday. And man, I tell you what, if you can find any footage of back in the old Formula 3 days, do it. Look for it, because that was when racing was really racing. Our show today, by the way, brought to you by Rumor Sports Bar and Casino. They've got specials, lunch and dinner all the time there. In fact, they're special tonight. If you want to go have some supper between 5 and 11, sandwich and a side for only $7, all right? You can go watch any sporting event you want. They got 9,000 TVs in there. Yesterday is like my favorite day at Rumor's, $3 pounders all day long.
Nice.
Yeah, what a great place. Lunch and dinner specials, like I said, home of the world-famous beer tower. BT, Scotty, Jake, the whole crew over at Rumor Sports Bar and Casino. In fact, BT at the start of the show was outside the window here flexing for us like he likes to do. So head on over to Rumor Sports Bar and Casino, all right? Make sure to catch the Fork Sports Highway Show tonight at 6:30. Monty, Bill, and the rest of the cast, they're going to have a ton of stuff to talk about. You know, we got the GOAT in football retiring. Maybe they'll even mention Dr. Phil retiring and Ozzy Osbourne too, but who knows? That show comes your way at 6:30. Let's see. Remember to like, share, tag, and follow us, all right? Hit that notification bell on your smartphone. Every time we turn our cameras on, your phone will ding. You will never miss a show. And if you become a patron on Podbean, it's a chance for you to qualify for some pretty cool giveaways. Hey, Grand Cities, what a marvelous place. Grand Forks' best source is giving it an identity again.